Welcome to the Construction Disruption Podcast, where we uncover the future of design, building, and remodeling.
I'm Seth Heckeman of Isaiah Industries, manufacturer of specialty metal roofing and other building materials. Welcome to Construction Disruption, the podcast committed to bringing value to home improvement and replacement contractors. Today, we're turning the tables on Todd Miller, who frequently hosts Construction Disruption, putting him instead in the guest seat. As we strive to bring guests and topics that are of value to those in the home improvement and home services industries, we figure that there's no one better than Todd. With over 40 years of industry experience, Todd was recently presented with a Lifetime of Leadership Legends of the Home Improvement Industry Award by his colleagues through Dave Yoho and Associates. Todd is also past chair of the Metal Construction Association and current president of the Metal Roofing Alliance. Over the years, he has been inducted into the Metal Construction News Hall of Fame, and he's a recipient of the MCA Larry Sweeney Award. Over his career, Todd has worked with thousands of contractors and property owners across the world, helping them to decide whether worry-free metal roofing was part of their future. Thanks for joining us today, Todd. You've interviewed a lot of amazing guests on the show. How does it feel sitting on the other side of the microphone today?
You know, we have had some amazing guests, no doubt about it. I think back on the 170 or so episodes we've done, we've had some just phenomenal guests almost, well, I'll just say everyone. I'll just put it that way and be safe. And I don't know. It's different being on this side. All I can say is that if I suddenly start asking you questions, just roll with it. I don't know what else to say.
You got it. We can do that. Absolutely. But sure have been blessed with some great ones and have learned a heck of a lot through Construction Disruption, which has been great. Thank you for all your work. Interviewing those folks, getting great conversations, and spreading great information to everybody. For listeners, though, who may not know your full story and background, can you share some of that and how you came to be where you are today, leading Isaiah Industries?
You know, I think I was cursed at birth. There may be more truth to that than we like to think about it. I am kind of joking, but no, I came into the business. This business was started by my father back in 1980, and he had worked for Alcoa Building Products throughout most of the 70s, had quite a career in engineering and manufacturing prior to that as well. Started this business in 1980. I was still in high school at the time, believe it or not. I came out of college in 86 and came into the business full time. And rest is history. Early years, we were doing a lot of commercial metal roofing. We were the roof of choice for Pizza Hut and Dairy Queen and IHOP and 7-Eleven and all those chains. And kind of what we saw by the mid-'80s was that commercial business was going to be real prone to architectural fads and cycles. So we really just started focusing on the residential end of our products. And part of my job early on was to go out and spend some time with 3 or 4 contractors across the country who were selling metal shingles residentially and just learn from them, learn what they were doing, and then go out and try to replicate them. And so that's what I did for a lot of years, lots of road warrior days. But anyway, that's what I did, and the business has continued to evolve so that now we are almost strictly residential products. And we still love commercial projects when we get them. We don't get a lot of Pizza Hut roofs anymore, but occasionally we'll be blessed with a multifamily or a church or some sort of monumental or park building, and we love those projects. But vast majority of our work is single family residential at this point.
I'm just, as you're talking about the history, thinking about all the stories that you like to remind me of those early days of maybe how I've got it way easier with current technology and business than when you started. What comes to mind are, 2-week Western trips and doing your laundry at a laundromat over the weekend, or tearing yellow pages out of hotel phone books and, packing shingles in the afternoon after high school. So we started at the ground floor and really have done so much to build the residential metal roofing market where it is today. So lots of neat history there.
I got to tell you, I rebelled for the longest time when GPS units first came out. I kept telling our team, we don't need those. I got all these maps. I got a whole filing cabinet full of maps. So I'd send people off with their maps, but eventually I just discovered that GPS was a heck of a lot easier.
Technology has its advantages, absolutely. So really, with Don and that story, you really were born into it and have been at it for a long time. I think you get asked frequently, especially in an age where folks staying in the same industry, let alone the same company for their entire career, especially when that career is 30, 40, almost 50 years when you're at the tail end of it. But what keeps you passionate about it after all these years, and what still excites you every morning?
I think a lot of it is the people and the relationships that we can build through business. But I'm also and I think I'm probably getting a little bit funnier about this in my old age, believe it or not. I like to throw out new ideas every once in a while and try some exciting things. I remember when I was growing up, a lot of my relatives were school teachers. And I always thought, as I was hitting that age of thinking about my career, I thought teaching school sounds so boring. You're just going to do the same thing year after year after year, just wash, rinse, and repeat. But then when I got into business, I discovered that, I was kind of doing the same thing, not every year, but every day. So there's a lot of repetition out there. But I think in business, you got to make your own excitement. You got to go out and continually try to build new relationships. If suddenly those building new relationships was something you couldn't do, that would be a real detriment for me. So you got to keep looking to build those relationships, meet new people, interesting people out there, and keep pushing for new things to try. I think a lot of industries, as you look at them, suddenly, they just became very stagnant, and then a disruptor came along, and those guys who were stagnant ended up being roadkill. And so I think you got to be really careful in business to always be pushing for new things, even if sometimes those ideas seem a little crazy and outlandish. You never know what they might lead to. So, I think that's what I'm driven by, is meeting new people, building relationships, enjoying the people I've gotten to know over the years, but then continuing to look for those possible ways to disrupt and shake things up a little bit too.
Very cool. And really, construction disruption is a great example of that, of the vehicle to build those new relationships, learn new things. The idea of even having a podcast in the first place was a step of innovation for us, and there's been some great fruit of it, absolutely. We've been joking about these technology changes over your career, but not only has the technology changed, the market has changed dramatically. Where when you were first out visiting those literally 3 or 4 guys across the country that we knew that were selling products residentially, metal wasn't even 1% market share back then, late 80s, early 90s, when you look at residential re-roofing. Now the current data shows we're around 15%. 1 out of every 6, 1 out of every 7 roofs replaced every year are being replaced with metal. From your perspective, what have been the major factors in that growth? What has driven that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think one of the things is just natural product evolution. I mean, if we look at any building material, it's for the most part not the same as it was 40 years ago, or let alone 100 years ago. And yet here we had roofing that, especially coming out of World War II, had been pretty much stagnant with asphalt shingles. And I think metal kind of brought something new in terms of just the natural evolution toward products that are longer lasting, better looking, add more value, all that type of thing. That's certainly one factor. The internet, of course, was a huge factor as well. Suddenly, consumers who were out there saying, gosh, I'm sick of changing my shingles every few years, and there has to be something better out there in terms of roofing. And, yet the commonplace roofing contractor had no reason to talk to them about anything other than his bread and butter, which was asphalt shingles. Suddenly with the internet, they were able to find those products. So that's been a big factor. I think the Metal Roofing Alliance, which was started by a few of us back about, 27, 28 years ago now. And the Metal Roofing Alliance was all about being that market development for residential metal roofing. I think that's had a lot to do with the growth of the industry. But really, I think one of the big factors, too, has been portable roll-forming technology. The kind of normally what people thought of when they thought of metal roofing were long sheets. And, back in the 80s, we'd put the long sheet corrugated roofing on agricultural buildings, and we would just lap them. We wouldn't have to have continuous length panels or anything. And suddenly mobile roll forming came up, and we could do these continuous length panels right on job sites. And you continue there. You got the metal shingle guys that are easily able to ship their products across the country, across the world, because we're not dealing with the long panels. So I think that those product developments really were what made metal roofing more accessible to both contractors and property owners. And as I look back at my role in the industry over those years, along with really the Metal Roofing Alliance, I've always seen my role as really to provide education and to help both contractors and property owners, help them make the right choice in regards to roofing. Help that contractor make the right choice in terms of what they're going to offer, help that homeowner make the right choice in terms of what they're going to use. And as you know, I'll be the first to say, I don't think metal roofing is for every contractor out there, and I don't think it's for every property owner out there either. And so we've always been very conscious of doing that education part of things. The other thing that's been kind of interesting along all that is, as the market has grown, we've suddenly started to see some inferior products be developed. And that's always been a fear, I think, of the people who are leading our industry is lower quality products sneaking their way in, maybe domestically or maybe from overseas. And so that's, something else I think it's always been really important to me from the education standpoint is to educate people not just about metal roofing, but about what makes a quality metal roof, something that's really going to get them the value that they're paying for.
And you've been so faithful to that, and really, it's been a calling for you. The number of nights the number of hours you spend in the evening just responding to folks from across the world, across the country with their roofing questions, and really modeling that high integrity selling for all of us here at Isaiah and across the industry. Something certainly learned from you, and especially someone who never thought they'd be selling anything themselves, but just trying to educate the folks and help them come to their ideal solution, whatever that might be. But certainly been on the forefront of leading the industry, riding this wave of growth. Where we are today, 15%, 40 years later, are we tapped out? Do you think we're reaching that saturation point, or do you think it's still a high growth opportunity for all those involved?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, and my crystal ball isn't real clear on it, but for a number of years here recently, up until very recently, I kept saying, I think metal as a percent of the residential roofing market probably is going to top out around 30 or 35%, which is a lot of metal roofing. No one's going to argue that at all. But I'm kind of rethinking that. I think that the sustainability and durability of metal are going to continue to increase in demand. One big issue in construction for a number of years that I don't think is going to get any better, and I could talk a lot about why I don't think it's going to get any better, but a big issue has been the shortage of skilled labor to install roofing and other building materials as well. And so one answer to that shortage of labor is to simply use products that don't have to be replaced as often. So if suddenly all of your roofing material is lasting 75 years instead of 15 years, whatever that multiple is, 5 or whatever, you have reduced your skilled labor needs by that amount. And so I really think that the industry is going to continue to grow. I think homeowners are going to continue to be tired of having to replace their roofs real frequently. And it seems like no matter what the asphalt shingle industry does, new colors, new profiles, new designs, they really don't gain much on that life expectancy. And as you know, one of my big talking points is if the asphalt shingle industry suddenly was producing products that lasted twice as long, they would collapse under the weight of their own infrastructure. They wouldn't be able to survive because asphalt shingles are heavy, they're expensive to ship, and so you've got about 100 plants, maybe 125 plants making asphalt shingles across North America so that they don't have to ship product as far. Again, suddenly if shingles start lasting twice as long, that all comes crashing down real quick. So I think metal's going to continue to gain market share. Where we'll top out, I don't know. It's never going to be 100% probably, unless some government mandate made it 100%. But I think it's going to continue to grow. So I think there's lots of upside and lots of growth ahead of us.
Sure, and yeah, it makes perfect sense. The skilled labor dynamic, it's such a significant fixed cost as part of the equation, not some variable cost. Creating cheap rinse and repeat temporary solutions out there. None of those exist anymore. So certainly a big factor working in our favor. One thing that's always been interesting about our business model of, 90% of what we do is metal roofing, and we're going out and we're partnering with contractors across the country, is rarely are we working with a contractor or home improvement company where it's a swap the widget in and out of our products versus a current metal roofing product that they're selling. We love those opportunities. So anybody interested in talking about them, we welcome it, but just not where the market has been. We're always working with folks who are new to the business, or whether a roofing company or a home improvement company, adding it to their offering. So that there's a learning curve there. There's some challenges. I'm curious what you've seen have been those most significant challenges over the years, and how you've seen people implement or add metal roofing well to their businesses.
Well, that was a nice little shameless plug you worked in there. I like that, and well-deserved for you and the sales team, and the great job that you all do in terms of onboarding new people into our industry. And, of course, we've got a big onboarding event coming up shortly after the 1st of 2026 that we're looking forward to. But, it's interesting. I think that the big thing that contractors always worry about, and usually you and I have both experienced this, the first question out of their mouth is, well, who's going to put this on for me? So that's always their concern. And, yet we've come up with ways to help them with that. I mean, both through training, through regional guys who have been trained, and subcontractors that are available out there. But I got to be honest, even though they think their problem is going to be installing, typically their real problem is, their real struggle is when the rubber meets the road, and, they're trying to convince that homeowner to analyze their roofing needs and, make a decision for them and their home. And roofing just hasn't been sold much that way over the years. It's been more of a give me a bid and I'll let you know if I choose you or not type of sale opportunity. So most contractors, even though they hate to admit it, really struggle with that in-home sales process. And, I think that is where it's important for a contractor to align with a manufacturer who has good training, who has tools, who has things like an in-home sales presentation, things that they can continually perfect and get better at in order to bring into their business, and onboard metal as a serious part of their business. Now, obviously, it goes even before that with marketing and lead generation. All of those things are fairly new to guys who are entering into metal. But again, I think they align themselves with the right manufacturers, the right industry experts, they can find that, they can overcome those challenges pretty readily.
Sure. Trying to, take advantage of the collective experience and get those right people to the table, shorten that learning curve, and learning those tough lessons yourself as best you can. So, like you said, we certainly love the opportunity when we get to be that manufacturer coming to the table. And it's interesting you mentioning, just the how roofing has been sold in the past and what it has looked like, and hasn't often been that consultative sales conversation like maybe windows or siding has been. But the contractors we're working with now, who are changing their sales process to align more with that, are seeing that it's having great impact across their entire roofing division. This isn't just a plug of how you only sell metal roofing, but it's sales 101, best practices that have been proven for years and years of getting into better conversations with homeowners, building more value, and really increasing their close rate and margin across all their products. You can make more money selling when you sell an asphalt shingle, selling in that way. And it's been fun seeing that transformation for the contractors we get to partner with.
Absolutely.
So in the thousands and thousands of contractors you've worked with over the years selling metal roofing, what have been the key differentiators of those that have had success versus those that have maybe struggled a bit more? Maybe key indicators of those organizations that you get excited when you see those same characteristics in others.
Sure. I certainly think the willingness to take on a structured sales system through which they're going to sell the product and promote it is certainly key. And that's something that you see in all the guys that are successful. I just think in general, though, what I'll notice is they will really focus on installation and professionalism. Professionalism certainly is important whenever you're selling a high-end product. You've got to be able to earn that customer's trust and respect and have them see that, hey, this is a company I'll make that investment with. But the other thing I've also seen in roofing over the years is a lot of times, contractors will sell jobs and figure that they'll get their profitability by somehow shortchanging the installation process, or maybe hiring a sub that will do it for $20 a square less. I don't know. That you cannot do in metal roofing. You've got to be committed to hiring only the best installers. Not doing that is going to come back to haunt you when you're dealing with a roof system that is not heavily dependent upon sealants, and also a roof system that customer, rightfully so, has very high long-term expectations of. So I think leading with professional installation is certainly a key to that success. And I think finally, the successful guys know their numbers. We can talk about numbers all day in terms of leads and appointments and conversions and all that type of stuff. I'm amazed at the number of contractors I run into who don't even produce a monthly profit and loss statement. And, that's a real problem also. So you got to know all those numbers, not only as far as your leads and your profitability, but the general overall health of the business as well. So certainly one big thing I think you and I have both knows with the successful guys is they know their numbers. I mean, they will tell you verbatim real quick what those various ratios and percentages are that they're running.
Absolutely. We see the contrast every day from the companies that can't tell you what even their top line revenue was the month or year before. And then we're in the rooms with the guys that are measuring that P&L down to a 1/10 of a percentage point. There's a wide spectrum in our industry, and really the success and staying power plays it's what you expect across that spectrum ends up playing out every single day. I think you were the one that taught me the famous Peter Drucker quote of, what you don't measure, you can't manage. And there's whatever variation of that, but the principle there, incredibly key. So we've talked a lot about your history over, 40 years in this industry, but curious in this wacky post-COVID market that we're in currently here at the end of 2025, what are some current or real present issues that you think are turning into make or break moments for contractors, home improvement companies across the country?
It's certainly been interesting to look at things post-COVID. I mean, even back during COVID and those couple of years right after, people felt pretty rich. Suddenly wages popped up. They were getting some government stimulus money, and we had a lot of money being spent on home improvement. And it was just an industry that really burgeoned there coming out of COVID and even, in 2020 as well. And so I think that, for a period of time there, contractors just expected that phone to ring, and by and large it did, because people were out there and they were wanting to buy stuff and everyone liked that. But then this year, what we've heard so much about here in 2025, even 2024, was a real shortage of leads and difficulty in generating leads. And we can talk about a lot of reasons for that. Frankly, one of the reasons is so much work was done the prior year, couple prior years, that people didn't have as much work to do. But I don't think there's any doubt consumers are changing how they buy things. And the contractor who doesn't realize and respect that is going to fall by the wayside. I hate to be that blunt, but it's just the reality. And consumers no longer are of the mindset that, I've got to do home improvement, so I've got to go out and get 3 contractors, 5 contractors to give me bids. And, everyone tells me I should take the middle one. I'm probably really going to take the cheap one, but they tell me I should take the middle one. And people don't buy that way anymore. I mean, the whole Amazon culture, the whole Google review culture, instead has people doing a lot of that research up front. I often tell the story about the last major home improvement my wife and I made was about a $60,000 job, and I called one contractor because I didn't want to talk to anybody else. I called the one contractor that my research led me to would be the best one for our project, and that was who I hired. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing now. They do not want to go through that process of multiple bids. No one has time for it. We've all become a little bit more protective of our safe spaces, our homes, not wanting to invite people into them. Heck, I go out for breakfast now with my preacher. I don't invite him over. I don't want him in my house. Oh, don't tell him that. Anyway, but I think that, there's a statistic being thrown around right now, and I don't even know who it came from, but it's probably very true, is that when a homeowner goes to buy a home improvement for their home, by the time they even pick up the phone and call a contractor or send them a response form on their website, they are 80% of the way through their buying decision. And I firmly believe that that's the case with most of them. So what does this mean to contractors? Well, I think one thing it means is there's going to flat out be fewer leads going forward. If you think of the average homeowner used to get 3 bids, now they're only getting 1. You can have the same number of projects going on, and there's simply going to be fewer leads going around. And so, that's one thing, but your close ratio should go up. And I'm starting to hear that from a few guys that, yes, my lead count is down, my close ratios are coming up. So you should start to sell more of those. But what you really got to focus on is that customer experience. And, a lot of times people think that customer experience strictly is their sales guy when he shows up at the house and sits across the kitchen table. Customer experience starts with your website. It starts with any marketing. It starts with what your past customers are saying about you. You got to focus on that customer experience, because that is what's going to make that customer make sure that you are the one person they are calling, rather than going out and just going down the yellow pages and calling 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it is. So I think that's going to be the real crux, make or break it for home improvement contractors these next couple of years, is do they adjust to that new way that the consumer is buying?
Absolutely. It seems to be so obvious. There's plenty in our industry that still, it seems, want to have their head in the sand, so to speak. But you said it there. Your research led you to the company that you called and who you wanted to do business with. So they were the one well positioned to still be there and serving you during that process. They didn't know it yet, but they were the ones that you called, and there was plenty that you didn't. And on the flip side of it, who all these in-home salespeople that want to think that's eliminating them from the equation, that guy still showed up with a structured sales system, and he knew the process that he wanted to take you through. But because of where you were in the funnel, you were able to have a much more tailored, specific, relevant conversation to you, rather than explaining inane stuff that you didn't want to know anyway.
Absolutely. The funniest story, when I had that guy come to our house and we're sitting across the table talking to him, and he's starting and saying he was great. He was doing a really nice job. I looked at him and said, "You've been through Sandler training, haven't you?" Because I immediately recognized he was Sandlerized, which Sandler is a great training system. So many others out there that are great for home improvement, though. Kudos, obviously, to Dave Yoho and Tony Hody and Chuck Toki and so many of the guys that are out there just killing it. Marcus Sheridan, guys that are helping contractors adjust to the new way that consumers are buying, because I hate to tell you, they're not going back. And you may think, well, I'm going to ride a few more years with the older people still buying the old way. I don't think so. Even my mother would not be buying that old way of calling 3 contractors to her house. Instead, she would just tell me to take care of it. But, that's a whole different story.
So, what other advice at this point would you give contractors who are maybe looking ahead to next year, evaluating what their goals are? Many of them wrapping up a year that they may not have had as stellar of a year or accomplished the goals they had set out for themselves. Not to their own fault. That's just where a lot of the industry is at this exact moment. But what advice would you have for them as they're evaluating making those changes and maybe adding metal roofing to their business?
I would certainly learn from what happened to you these last couple of years. And God bless you. If you had a stellar last couple of years, you're in the minority, and that's fantastic. You're already killing it. Look at what you did and keep doing it. But if it was a tough last couple of years, see what you can learn from that. And I think what you're going to find is that a lot of people kind of slacked off. I mean, again, coming out of COVID, they had some really strong years. They didn't have to work real hard to generate leads. They didn't really even have to watch their books all that close because the business just kept coming in, and by and large, it was profitable. And so I think what you're finding now is contractors are going to look back on the last couple of years and say, yeah, I was kind of doing things halfway the last couple of years. And so they're going to realize they need to get back to doing things full on, everything that they can possibly do to do it right in their business. They're going to realize that the business can't be a part-time thing. It can't be a play thing that lets them buy new trucks whenever they want or whatever that might be. Instead, it has to be something they have to devote some serious time to if they're going to run a successful business. Finally, and this is probably a little self-serving, I'll be honest, align yourself with good suppliers. I don't care if it's our company. I'd love it. Oh, okay, I do kind of care. I'd love it if it is. But align yourself with good suppliers, whether that's manufacturers or distributors. Align you with companies that bring you training, bring you support. One of our mantras around here is we as a manufacturer are successful only when the contractors selling and installing our products are successful. And so, that's what we try to live out each and every day. And, I would challenge you again, it may not be us, but you want you want a supplier that wants you to be successful. So just flat out ask them. One of my words of advice is if you're vetting new suppliers, flat out ask them, if I take on your product and it's fairly new to my company, what are you going to do to make sure those first 3 jobs go successfully? Because every supplier will tell you, I got to get them through those first 3 jobs successfully or they're never going to do more business with me. So ask them what they're going to do. And if they come back and say, well, I'll get you the product when you need it, I'll make sure you get invoiced correctly, that's not the answer you want. You want the answer of the guy that's going to help you sell those jobs. You want the answer of the guy that's going to help you know how to install those jobs. You want the guy with the answer who's going to have your back if any hiccups along the way. And that's the answer you're looking for when you ask them, what are you going to do to help make sure I'm successful on my first 3 jobs?
Excellent advice. Thank you. Switching gears a little bit, for years now, you have also played a really active role in industry leadership, specifically through Metal Roofing Alliance and the Metal Construction Association. Curious, can you share why that's important to you and what challenges do you see facing the industry as a whole now and maybe in the near future?
Well, I do think a rising tide raises all ships, and that's one reason I've always wanted to spend a lot of time playing at the industry trade association level. I want our industry to be as good and as right as it can possibly be. Now, one of the things that trade associations do for you, too, is they will typically represent you well with building codes and other challenges that may come up. And that's something that as a small to mid-sized manufacturer, a lot of companies can't tackle that on their own. In fact, very few companies can. So we're better when we're able to work together and pool our resources to represent ourselves as an industry that's there to grow the industry. I'll go back again. Another big thing of mine has been really promoting not just metal roofing, but quality metal roofing. And that's something that we carry out heavily at the trade association level as well. As far as challenges, I think it's going to be interesting. So a couple of years ago, and I always forget the names of hurricanes, but oh man, I'd hate it if I was ever named after a hurricane or if my name was used for a hurricane. But anyway, the hurricanes that hit Florida, and we had said coming out of those, that's going to change the type of roofing people use in Florida, and it has. I mean, Florida has turned solidly for metal in the wake of those hurricanes. And now, almost a year ago, we had the Southern California fires, and same thing, that is going to change how people think about roofing in Southern California. And, one of the things you talk about Southern California, but lots of other areas of the country are concerned about wildfire also. So as metal starts to pick up recognition in those severe weather areas, which once they start using more metal, even the less severe weather areas are going to get interested in metal. But we're going to have more challenges from the competition. Our competition are not dullards who are just going to sit on their thumbs and not do anything. And so we have to be prepared from an industry standpoint to represent ourselves well in that sort of burgeoning interest that is occurring in metal roofing right now. I think another thing is, there's a lot of talk lately in the news about the American dream. And, if you're going to boil down the American dream for most people, I mean, it can mean a lot of things, but a lot of times people boil it down to home ownership. And they're looking at a lot of younger folks and saying, gosh, with home prices, I don't know how they're ever going to afford a home. I do think that that's something we as an industry need to start seriously thinking about. And I'm always kind of the one at industry meetings to poke the bear a little bit and kind of jab at some stuff that other folks aren't thinking about or think I'm silly for thinking about. But we as an industry have to be giving some thought to all along our supply chain. How can we drive some cost out of a quality metal roof in order to make it more affordable as part of the American dream? One of the things my eyes were open to a while back was that so much of home values are being established by what would it cost to replace that home if it got destroyed by a storm. And so the replacement costs are driving home values to some degree. And so there's a lot here that we as an industry really have to start to sink our teeth into and realize, okay, what role can we as the metal roofing industry play in perpetuating and allowing people to live and achieve that American dream? I think it's really important.
Absolutely. Important to the entire fabric of our society, no question.
Absolutely.
And obviously things like those and on that level of societal impact and doing good out in the marketplace, I think is certainly a big driver for you. But I'd love to hear it in your own words of 40 years in, over 40 years in. What still motivates you and gets you excited in the same business and industry?
I think it boils down to this. I love challenges. And it's probably horrible to be a person that says they get excited by problems, but I feel like that's where 40 years of experience comes into play. I think that there is a certain mastery you achieve when you're in not only the same industry, but the same business for that length of time. And so I love challenges. I mean, give me a manufacturing problem that we're trying to overcome. Give me a customer with some unique roofing needs. Give me the contractor that, is really struggling figuring out where his future is. Those are the things I love. Fortunately for me in this world, you never run out of problems. And I love being the one who maybe can sometimes, I don't have the answer to everything. Everyone knows that. But sometimes I hope I can play a role in helping people find a better future, find a better way of doing things, find a better way of manufacturing, whatever that might be. That's what I get challenged by and enjoy so much is the problems.
Keeps things interesting. And, as someone who knows you well, really that is largely driven by your servant heart and the care for those around you. And all of those in that sphere are grateful for that. So thank you, Todd, for that. And thank you for this great conversation. Really enjoyed it and think it'll bring great value to others as well. We're close to wrapping up what we call the business end of things here, but is there anything that we haven't touched on that you'd like to share before we wrap up?
I'd encourage contractors out there to check out metal if you aren't already involved in it. I think the future continues to be bright for it. I think it's going to continue to grow. And if I can help you any anywhere, any way, any place along the way. If I can help you, feel free to reach out to me. That's the stuff I love, is helping folks.
Well, probably the portion of our conversation I've looked forward to the most has been turning the tables on you on this game we like to play at the end of the conversation called Rapid Fire Question Round. You are well aware this is no surprise to you. I'll still be gracious enough to ask you if you're willing to participate. Me asking you 7 questions that may be serious, may be silly, but all you have to do is give a quick response.
You must not have gotten the message. We actually went down to 5 questions, and I was going to reduce it to 3, but I'm good with 7.
I can
Let's
choose
do
the top.
it.
All right.
7's good.
7 quick ones. So first response off the top of your head, we'll see how crazy and off the rails it gets. But so here we go. Rapid fire question number 1. One of our favorite questions here at Construction Disruption, Ryan specifically. If you had to eat a crayon, what color would you pick?
This is a weird question. It would be white, because hopefully it wouldn't show up quite as badly as some other color. Some people like to think, okay, certain colors may taste better than others. I'm guessing they all taste like wax. So I'd go with white.
I can appreciate that logic, absolutely. So question number 2, what is a product or service you've purchased recently that has been a real game changer for you?
I should have anticipated that question, and I don't know if I have an answer for it. I should have thought that one through. I did just get new glasses, and I feel like I've entered 1975. They got the little bar across the top and all that stuff. So these are kind of being a game changer for me, making me feel a little more hip and cool, I think.
There you go.
But feelings don't mean much.
You've never been shy about pushing the fashion envelope on your glasses selection, but you were just saying at lunch that you think the big lenses have broadened your view.
I do feel like I've got a better view. Yeah,
there you go.
Stuff.
Question number 3, what is a bucket list vacation for you?
Oh, Italy, with my wife and son. No doubt about it. I've been there once for just a couple days on my own, and very anxious to bring them both to Italy, northern Italy in particular, sometime.
Question number 4, what's the one skill you'd pick to learn if you could pick it up instantly?
Gosh, I'm kind of torn between speed reading and... Yeah, I'm going to go with speed reading. The other thing is memory. I really admire these guys that can make all these mnemonic brain tricks to remember anything. And especially as I get older and I'm thinking I might need to start eating that shark cartilage or whatever that is. I'm thinking I may need some help with memory. But yeah, I would say speed reading is something I wish I could do, and totally embrace stuff. As you know, I speed listen to podcasts. I have got that down. Double speed all the time on podcasts. I don't care if everyone sounds like a chipmunk.
Yeah, I can do 1.25, but beyond that, it takes the pleasure out of it for me. But that's interesting. As again, someone who knows you well, I would not have guessed speed reading at the top of your list. I get it though, absolutely. Next question: do you prefer the top or bottom half of the bagel?
Oh, top half. Absolutely. That's where all the stuff that as a diabetic I shouldn't eat is. So top half. Except everything bagels. Everything is just too much. I'm sorry. That's just too much.
They're my favorite. But yeah, your sweet tooth, these mouth-puckering cinnamon sugar concoctions, those are your thing. Yeah. All on the top. All right. Second to last question. Who is one person you would want on your team in a zombie apocalypse?
I'd have to say you. maybe I'm cheating by saying that, but you are one of the most. You're resourceful. You are determined. You are tenacious. And I'd want you on my team as in a zombie apocalypse, no doubt, Seth.
Thank you. So all the things that may make me difficult on a day in and day out basis may come in handy if it comes to that.
I wasn't going to go there, but if you want to, we can.
It is not going to be a surprise to many. It just is what it is. All right. Last rapid fire question, number 7. Mr. Miller, what would you like to be remembered for at the end of your days?
Oh, I think someone who loved God and who loved people. I truly am enriched whenever I get to meet someone new, and I guess probably because I'm a bit of an oddball and a misfit myself, I especially enjoy meeting oddballs and misfits. I just find my life is made richer by hearing other perspectives and hearing other people's ways of looking at things and thinking about things. So.
Todd, thank you again for the conversation. As always, your willingness to share and bring value to folks and really all that you've done over your 40-year plus career. For those that want to get in touch with you and continue it individually, which I know I can fully attest to, you would love nothing more if they did reach out. What's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. I'm pretty easy to find on LinkedIn. Just put Todd Miller Metal Roofing. You got to come up with me. There is a button on my LinkedIn profile where you can book a Zoom call with me. Happy to meet with anybody on Zoom for, I think it sets up a 40-minute call or something. Love to do that. And folks can email me direct, probably. I at the risk of having to spell it, I will say my email is todd.miller@isaiahindustries.com, ISAIAH industries.com.
Thank you, Todd, and thank you, audience, so much for tuning into this episode of Construction Disruption with Isaiah Industries President and Industry Guru, Todd Miller. Please watch for future episodes of our podcast. We are always blessed with great guests. Don't forget, if you would, to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Until the next time we're together, keep on disrupting and challenging those in your world to better ways of doing things. And don't forget to have a positive impact on everyone you encounter, make them smile and encourage them. Two simple yet powerful things we can all do to change the world. God bless and take care. This is Isaiah Industries signing off until the next episode of Construction Disruption.
This podcast is produced by Isaiah Industries, manufacturer of specialty metal roofing and other building products.